Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Grace of a Military Child and Life podcast. Military families are not like your traditional family. They are strong, brave, resilient, and some of the most incredible people I know. My name is Gracie, a U.S. Army brat, and I am your host. I am honored to be able to give military family members like myself a place for them to share their stories and experiences in the military life. Stay tuned for this week's guest. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of Grace of a Military Child and Life. Today, I'm here with Rachel, who is an Army spouse. So, Rachel, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, absolutely. So, tell us what it's like being a military spouse.
So I have to laugh because we are in the middle of our move from Mississippi to New York. And so we are feeling every bit of life as a military spouse these days. I am surrounded by boxes, but you know what? We will be unpacked soon. It is a crazy life. I don't know. I mean it in the best way. Like, it is just a crazy life. I've had the opportunity to this is our 9th move in 8 years. All 3 of our kids have been born in different states. And it's funny, I was thinking back to really just when we started this journey. My husband, obviously I'm here for the ride, but I just never, thought this was the life that we were going to live, but in the best way. Like, it's been a fun and wild ride.
Yeah, it's definitely something that, people can say all they want. You signed up for this. You knew what you were getting into. Yes. But you don't know until you're in it what it's like and what you're going to go through.
Exactly.
And you just have to exactly like you said, here you are in the middle of a PCS.
Yeah, just roll the punches.
Exactly.
I was thinking about that because when my husband and I got married, he was actually he was in the reserves. So technically, when I married him, I only thought I was committing to reserves husband and thought that he'd just be gone once a month, and that it really wasn't going to impact, our day-to-day life. But in our first year of marriage, I was a teacher. We lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he was in the reserves and he worked at Wells Fargo. And that's when the whole Wells Fargo scandal, all the craziness hit. And so he was very much like, this is not the job for me. Like, I want to change. And at the same time, they signed a program over where a certain number of officers were going to be able to switch from reserves to active duty. And so he just put his packet in. He's like, let's just see if it works out. Let's see how it goes. And of course, I didn't think he'd be selected. So I was like, yeah, just put your application in. It's fine. And then things all just kind of went crazy from there. And so, I laugh when people are like, well, you know what you signed up for? I'm like, technically, I agreed to the reserves life, which is, different from this active duty life.
Yeah, it really is. And even me joining myself now, it's I'm going in as an officer and, joining as an officer so different than enlisted. Awesome. Yes. And so, joining, I'm like, okay, do I go active or do I go reserve? And I'm like, listen,
it's a big choice.
Everything's going to happen for a reason. So I'm going to process as active. And if I'm meant to go reserve, then they'll pull me for reserve. That's how it's going to go. But that's so taking that same thing. And, I grew up in a reserve family. My dad was reserve. And so when we moved to our first, base, it was definitely a huge shock of, y'all move every 2 years. Y'all, y'all don't have your parents because they don't necessarily have a normal 9 to 5. It is, okay, you're going to come in at this time and stay until whenever. Yeah. We don't need you anymore.
No, it's a weird life. And even explaining it to, my friends who are living the civilian life. And it's funny, our last assignment, the Army sent my husband to grad school before he came to West Point. He's going to be teaching military history. And so we kind of got to live the civilian life for the last 2 years. And that was so fun. Just as a little old taste, but it was also funny because at that point I had really gotten to the point where we kind of relied on the Army community around us. And we always knew we would have, Army people around us. And so being civilian life for 2 years, it was kind of weird because we were really missing like the military side of it. And now we're just totally surrounded at West Point. So we're excited, but it's fun just to now kind of like appreciate all that the active duty life has. And, because we missed it for a couple of years there.
Yeah. And military life, as especially an active duty family, reserve too, but especially as an active duty family, you rely on that community.
Oh yeah.
You can't just walk into a civilian world and, make friends in the civilian world like you do.
It's so different. It is, exactly. It's so different. And even just, catching myself, we were so used to at that point, having military, community surrounding us where there's so many things for the kids to do, and there's so many things for spouses to do, and things to join and ways to network. And so yeah, it was a really good realization of how much we had really loved and grown accustomed to everything, being in the active duty community, and then missing it and now coming back. So we're excited.
I think it's definitely good to still have that taste of the civilian world because, like you said, it really does make you appreciate what you have in the active duty world.
It does.
But
for sure.
It still gives you that taste of, this is what the real world. Because one day, retirement hits.
Exactly.
And you're going to be back in the civilian world.
Back to the real world. That's right. It is. It's always just so funny. Like even, like the church we joined and like that kind of stuff. It was like, we were the odd man out because we were just there for him to go to grad school. And they're all just like, wait, like he's still in the Army? And it's like, yeah, it's complicated, but so it is. It's a fun little difference of worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the thing of how do you start explaining it to somebody who does not understand?
Right. It's like, and then even their questions, as we were preparing for this move and like, we knew we were going to be living on post. And so, just trying to like teach them about like what the Army life could be like. And so, yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, I definitely do love those people though, who have such an appreciation for the military life and want to learn more about it.
Oh yeah.
But at the same point, it gets tiring explaining it all.
It's a lot. It's a lot to explain because they're just different worlds, in the best way. But yeah, it is. It's funny.
Yeah, no, and it's great. And then like we get to see the world, like, literally everywhere. And I've heard West Point, that area, be compared to like Hogwarts.
So
like,
pretty. Yes, I know. My husband keeps saying we live in a castle, and my kids are a little confused because we don't live in a castle now. But we'll like go through, the campus, and we're like, look, it looks like we're in a castle. It really does. It's beautiful and also just crazy. I'm so excited to see it in like the fall and winter and just have all the seasons. It's gonna be so fun.
Yeah, because some places, like, we're in Florida, we get summer and summer 2.0. So
Exactly. And that's like, I'm from South Carolina. My husband's from Las Vegas. And then through our time together, we've lived in North Carolina, Georgia, multiple stops in Georgia, Arizona, Mississippi, and now we're up in New York. So, aside from the Pacific Northwest, like we've gotten to see a lot of the country. Like we drove with our kids from Arizona to Mississippi, and now this move we drove Mississippi up to New York. And so even just the experiences that my kids have gotten to have, just being in this life, and they've gotten to just like go so many places, see so many different places. It really is. It's one of the things I'm most grateful for in this lifestyle.
Yeah, especially because, young kids, it's so much fun to just, be able to explore and when they're at the ages that you still see, like, they're so curious of the world and that innocence of they don't, they haven't been introduced to the world. It
is. I know. They love it. And this move, it's fun. My kids are 6, 4, and 1.5. And so my oldest 2, they're very much in the stage of like soaking it all in. They have lots of questions. And so it's been really fun to see it through their eyes of like, where we're going, like why we're moving, like that's obviously a big talk, an important thing to talk to them about, of like why we have to move and why this is, their dad's new job, and just all the things that come with the emotions of moving. And, it's a lot for the little brains, but, and I mean, I'm sure you can relate too, just like, I know that in the long run, I think this will be a great experience for them and they'll have great memories. And, but as a mom, I just always kind of think back to like, okay, like how are they doing through this? What are they thinking through this? How are they feeling through this? Like it's a lot for their little brains.
Yeah. And especially that age, it's so hard to process. I mean, it's hard to process life in general.
Exactly.
You don't have your full set of emotions or anything.
Yeah,
so literally. It's a lot to process. And then you add the military life on top of it. And it's like, whoa, what's really going on? What am I doing here? But I love that they're so curious and just asking questions and soaking it all in.
They are. So yeah, we try to make the most of it. They're very excited. We're like an hour train ride from like New York City. So we're going to pick a weekend to like go down and see the city because they're very excited to see New York City and, try to do some touristy things. But, again, if we lived in one place forever, you can't just hop on a train and go into New York City. You know what I mean? Just for the day or the weekend. And so, those are the experiences we really try to just soak up as a family, just knowing that this might be the only, our only little window in time that we get to be up here. So,
yeah, because, it's going to be, it could very well be another few years and then you're off,
right. Exactly.
Maybe to the Pacific Northwest.
Where? That's right. We might have to finish our map here.
Maybe overseas, you never know.
Overseas. I know. We never know. So all the things. Yeah.
And you just have to, that's the best part of it is getting to get to one area. And it's not like being a tourist and just picking a city and going, on vacation. It's you're able to get somewhere, you're able to like really get into the culture, into the feel of, what it's like to live in Mississippi or New York, which are completely different.
Totally different.
Even. So
it is. It's crazy. It is, but we love it.
Yeah, no, I loved, definitely getting to experience those moments because it's like because you are living there, but you get to experience what it is like living somewhere without having to almost permanently live
exactly
there.
Well, and like we know from like everywhere we've lived, we have our list of things that we have loved about the town or the city or the things that we don't love as much. And so one day when we get to settle somewhere, like we've got our list. Like we know these are the things we really want in a town. We know the things that we really don't want. You know what I mean? And so whenever that time comes, but it's things that I think about if I had just stayed in one place, after I went to college and, settled down, if I had really just stayed in one place, there are a lot of things I wouldn't have gotten to experience or know about or, know that we did or didn't like or, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You really get to learn so much about an area that, I mean, you never know. You could get to somewhere and you're like, this is this is like dream come true. Yes. This is where I want to be at for
we're hoping to have that moment one day and it just makes the decision easy. That'll be great.
Or at least if it just narrows it down to one state.
Right. Like, yes. Like an area, a state, like anything, we're not there yet, but, it's fun to dream about. And I think a lot of families, military families probably, think about that or dream about that. So it's fun.
Yeah. And it's all about, just living in the moment and being and soaking up everything that area has to offer.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of people will even say that they hate it and they have a negative attitude going into it.
Yeah.
And then they leave and they're like, oh, wait, but that was really cool. And, I should have enjoyed that a little more or gone to this place a little bit more or explored more. And
I know,
you have to enjoy it in the moment. And it's a hard lesson to learn, to enjoy it in the moment.
It is. And then it's funny, my husband, he just finished in processing. And I think, I don't remember which, brief he went to, but they gave him this like a bucket list of 100 things you have to do. Like,
while you live here.
And that was so fun. And like my oldest, he's very much in like the bucket list. And I'm like, I wish every place had something like this, like to really just highlight on like all the different things. And, some of them are very like season specific. Like one was like, go to Christmas Eve service at the Cadet Chapel, or, just like things that are, like go to the, I guess one of the MWR or somebody here, they do, like a haunted house at Halloween, but it was just so fun. And I'm like, I wish that every place like had this, like they just gave it to us in this little like brochure, and it's like, it's got the check marks that you can check off. And so like, we're excited, and like, even if we don't love everything on there, but like being able to be like, we did all these things in this area, like that would be so fun.
I think that is definitely something every single base should begin implementing.
Right. I'm like, why has nobody ever done this before?
Yes. I mean, people make their own. Like I have seen it on Instagram all over the place of people making their own, thankfully sharing it with everyone else too. But it's, if they hand you something like that, when you walk in the doors, I think it would give the service member along with the rest of the family such a better outlook on the area. And
it really does.
Because if one person has a negative attitude, it typically goes to the rest of the family, no matter.
And that's the thing, it's like I know my places that weren't my best experiences or favorite bases or whatever, but just being able to be positive about like, here are the places that you can explore and experience, and just summing it all up. Like I just thought that was honestly one of the coolest things I've ever seen when we get somewhere, or like from the Army itself. Like definitely a fun resource,
because it's definitely a hard and tiring and long process of going through and researching an area,
right. And then like I always want to make sure that I'm not like missing something. Like what if there's a really cool like festival or something, or what if there's a really cool something, and there's no guarantee that like your neighbors or your friends that you meet have experienced that. So to have someone who's, I don't know who put it together, but someone who's been in the area and like knows all the things, like I just thought that was so fun.
Because what are you going to do when you move somewhere that you never thought you were going to move to?
Right.
And
like
most military areas are dropped in the middle of nowhere. So
literally, yes.
You have to drive to see some things, and that's fine. And most people are willing to drive to see things. But at the same point, like, you have to really, really look into the areas to find something.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing. Like, unless someone's already put together a list or a resource or a, blog post or whatever, like, you gotta search. And like here, it's crazy. I didn't understand like the geography of where we're living, but there's lots of little like towns around like the mountain we live on. And then like across the Hudson River, there's a bunch of towns. And so that's a lot of towns to be like researching and being like, oh, what do they have in those places? So definitely a great resource. Hopefully the whole Army can take note. The whole military, like take note. It's a great resource. Do it. It'll make the wives happy.
Right. Because then that's one thing lifted off your shoulders to have to do. And, you're able to entertain the kids more, and everyone's just going to be a little more positive.
Exactly. That's what we need. Like we have definitely learned when you get to a new place, like you gotta stay positive. You gotta keep moving forward. You gotta, find other things to look forward to and fun things to do. So that's my favorite part of getting to a new place. Just like finding all our things, finding the places we like to go, or the restaurants we like, or, things like that. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are big on traveling too.
I
love your company name. So can you tell everyone about it and what you do?
Yes. So I own a travel agency, and the company's name is Pinks and Greens Travel Company. So yes, if you're familiar with the military, you might know Pinks and Greens. That was the dress uniform back in World War II, and it's actually back now. And
I love it.
It is just my favorite. I have just always adored like the World War II era, like the pinks and greens. My dad's dad, my grandfather, he was in the Army. And even though he came in after World War II, that was his first dress uniform was pinks and greens. We found like an old picture of him in his pinks and greens. And
what a full circle moment too.
It really is the craziest thing ever. I started as a travel agent like 3 years ago. with a different agency. And really, I think a lot of military spouses, I used to be a teacher, but then when I had kids, I got to stay home, and I'm so, so grateful. And I always say, as far as the Army goes, like that's probably one of the things I'm most grateful for, that I get to stay home with my kids. If we had other jobs, that probably wouldn't be the case. And so I'm always very, very grateful that I got the opportunity to stay home with my babies. But I'm also someone who I need things to do. I need things to do. I need to get to work. I am way too
busy.
Sit on the couch all day. No, I'm not saying anybody sits on the couch all day, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
I just can't. I just have to be doing a million things. So back in 2021, we're also very much Disney gurus. I worked at Disney World after college. We got engaged in Cinderella's castle. We honeymooned at Disney World. So we're those crazy people. And so
it's okay. I fit in right with that too.
I love it.
Had annual passes for years.
Yes, so. I love it. I love it. So yeah, we're just those crazy Disney people. And then really in 2021, I had my second baby in 2020. Obviously 2020 was rough for everybody. And then, also 21.
Right.
And I was very much in the, itching to travel. We lived in Arizona. We were very much stuck at our base that we were at. We had a radius that we couldn't leave. So we were very much, I felt very trapped there, very isolated, very trapped. And so that's where we were. And, really the only thing open at the time was Disney. If anybody was traveling, because you couldn't really travel internationally easily, especially not with kids, and I
Exactly.
had a 3 and a 1-year-old. And so Disney, that was really if people were going places, there was a lot of Disney. And so I had always kind of given friends and family, advice for Disney trips. And so I finally was why don't I try to make some money? You know what I mean? If I can do this from my computer, if I can work from home, if I can do this as a military spouse, as a mom, I'd rather just make some money, doing the same thing I'm already doing. And that quickly just became everything. I just absolutely love getting to plan people's vacations. I did start with Disney, but then I quickly, had people coming oh, we want to go on a cruise. Can you help us? Yes. Let me help you plan your cruise. Cruises, all-inclusive resorts, tours. I just had a group of 10 go to Tetons and Yellowstone. And I, have a couple in Dominican Republic right now. I got people all over the world. And so it slowly exploded. It slowly grew. And I just adore it. It is my favorite job ever. And then really the big thing, and it's funny because a lot of people are travel agents still exist. It's 2024. And yes, we do still exist. The best part, and at least me personally, I don't charge any sort of planning fees or service charges or anything like that. We receive a commission directly from the travel vendor. So you're not paying anything extra. And then what I tell people, and it's 100% the truth, if you were to go book a vacation through Disney, or even same with military, and you get your military rates, I can still help you. You're not paying anything extra, anything like that. But you get someone on your side who's got the experience. I'm in the travel world every single day. And so, just knowing that you have somebody on your side in case something goes wrong, in case your flight gets delayed, in case you can't make your transfer to the cruise ship, or, whatever it is. It's really just a service to know that you have someone else on your side for traveling. And then at the beginning of this year, decided to make the leap and start my own agency. And that's when Things Like Greetings was born. And so now I have about 16 agents that work with my agency as well. And so now I'm really getting to use my love of teaching and teaching them all the tips and tips and tricks that I have as far as growing my own business. And really just, it is truly the best job ever. I absolutely adore it. And so, I was just so excited when I saw you, that you were looking for other people to kind of bring on. I really think especially being a military spouse, being a mom, my business has now moved with me, you know, like 3 different times, and like, you know, setting up in a new town and like starting the business over, you know, every time I move and finding new clients locally, like, yes, those are all challenges, but also like, it's the best part of the job that my job can move with me and that I can, you know, keep growing my business no matter where I'm at on the map. So
that is so much fun. And, you know, you're getting to travel so much, like we were talking about.
Exactly.
So, you know, it's not like you're coming in with no experience of travel, right? So
and that's honestly like, you know, because my family's in South Carolina, my husband's family's in Nevada. And so like, even like when we had kids, you know, like if we lived closer to my family, like, you know, we were flying to see my husband's family.
Sure.
If we lived closer to his family, we're flying to see my family. And so, you know, even before my kids were 1, you know what I mean? They're all flying multiple times, you know, like I was just naturally like having my tips and tricks of like, okay, here are the things you need to pack when you're flying with your kids. Here are the things you need to know. Here's what you need to tell TSA. Like, here's all the things. And again, that was just natural because that's what we had to do. If we wanted to go see our family, you got to hop on a plane to go see them. You know, you gotta learn what to take with you. And so I think that's also really helped me just because, you know, obviously like I've got the experience of traveling with my kids. And I do think whether it's because we're a military family or, you know, whatever the case may be, just knowing that like, we need to just soak up this time we have. The funniest thing was like 2020. So we moved February 2020. 4 weeks before the world shut down. I was pregnant with my second. We were planning to go to Disneyland because we had moved to Arizona. So we were planning to go to Disneyland. We were going to wait for my husband to get like some block leave over like spring break. We didn't take his leave, you know, when we moved. We were like, just get to the house, get unpacked. We'll take his leave later.
Right.
And literally the day we were supposed to go to Disneyland was the day the world shut down. And so I was so sad. I was also pregnant, so I was very emotional. And I told him then, I'm like, listen, moves are crazy, moves are chaotic, but my biggest regret is that we didn't take the trip when we made the move. Like, you had the days off, we could have gone, like, you know, and we were close enough. We could have gone, we could have driven. Obviously that's not always the case, you know, wherever you're moving, but like I learned in that move, like, take the trip, just go take your days. If you've got the days off and the military is going to give you your days off, like, just go make those memories. And so, you know, this move has been extra chaotic because before we officially started the move, we went on a Disney cruise, and I can't go to Orlando without at least going to the parks a couple of days. So, you know, and everybody's like, you have lost your mind. I'm like, you're right. But here's the thing. The move is going to be crazy, whether I go have fun or not. So let's go have a little bit of fun. Then we can move all of our stuff and handle the stress. And so, you know, just, and honestly, like, I feel like now, like, yes, obviously, like, I still book vacations, I book honeymoons, I book homecoming trips, you know, like, I book all the things, but I also just feel like the best part of my job is just like letting other moms, letting other people know, like, go take the trip. Like, you got the days, whatever you want to do. I don't care if you just want to go rent, you know, Airbnb and sit in there and drink your coffee in peace. Like, do it. If that's what your mental health needs, do it. You know what I mean? Just take the trip. You're allowed to do it. Just do it. So make the memories. And it's so funny now, even my 4-year-old, he has a speech delay, but he loved the cruise. And so every day he's like, when are we going back on the cruise ship? I'm like, sir, it's a little while. We're not going for a while. But he is so set. Like, and so, yes, we had the crazy, but also like we got to make those sweet memories. So I won't ever regret that.
I mean, living in Florida, we live about 3 hours away from Disney.
Yes,
and so we had annual passes basically since the year we moved here. And then we've taken a couple break years in between. Like, we don't have them now, but we noticed, like, I mean, we didn't really do many big vacations because Disney was our vacation. And we would try to go monthly, you know, to get our use out of our passes.
Exactly.
But it might be like once every couple months, you know, however many times we went. But we always noticed that's our happy place. Like, we're all happier. Like, I mean, they do call it the happiest place on earth for a reason.
That's right.
But, you know, it's something about getting out there. And sure, Disney became something that was so normal to us because we went so often.
I love it.
But it was just something that it's like, okay, we can escape reality for a second.
Exactly.
And walk down Main Street or, my mom and I mean, really all of us, we just love to walk around Epcot and walk around.
I love it. Yes.
So, it's something that we could do that it's just like, okay, this is, let's forget the chaos happening in the world for a moment.
Exactly.
And be in our happy place and just let the stress go for a minute and then we'll deal with it later.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like the stress is still going to be there. Just take the trip, like wherever your happy place is. And that's the thing for us, it's Disney. And then it was so funny, like being on the Disney cruise, my husband loved it so much. He's literally calling all of his friends. He's like, you need to get on a Disney cruise. They've got the kids club, like the kids can be entertained. I'm like, it's literally the best. And so he's now like my number one salesman for Disney cruises. But, I love that. And it's just like, wherever your happy place is, like, yes, like we know, like I love Disney, like Disney is for sure my happy place. And, but just, find what it is. Cause I'm like, we can be stuck at home and worrying about if my kids are going to take their naps or worrying about if all they're going to eat is chicken nuggets, or I can just go to Disney World and do that. So, we might as well have some joy.
You can at least eat like Casey's Corner or
yes, all the things. I'm like, can I just fly down? There are nonstop flights near me. Like, can I just hop on a plane? I would much rather be there than unpacking my house.
Yes. So before I ask the question that I always ask, I want to ask you because Disney to Disney, but what is your biggest Disney tip for someone?
Oh man, so many things. So I would say, especially if you've never been to Disney before, and I think it's a really big misconception. People who haven't been to Disney, they want to go and they want to do everything. So and that's number one, impossible. I have to tell you, exactly. It's not going to happen. I try to tell my clients that early on. So make a list of the things that you must do. It's fun now. My kids have been enough so I can, talk to them about this list. But if your kids love a certain movie or a certain character, or you're going to have character dining or just any kind of dining reservation, like make your list of your must-dos, start there. Know when you go in the park in the morning, at least have a little plan. I'm not saying map it out by the minute because that's impossible, but at least have a plan of like, I know when we go to Magic Kingdom, my kids love the Buzz Lightyear, Space Ranger spin. So we have to start at Buzz Lightyear. So for them, that is just like immediate. They know they're going to do it. We know that's our first stop we're going to go on. But just make that list of like, we know we want to do this ride. We want to see this parade. We want to make sure we're in the park and we get to watch these fireworks. Make that must-do list and then just let everything else be an extra. So if you make your must-do list of like 3 things that you have to do in the day and then you get 10 things done, great. That was a great day. You got way more done than you knew that you wanted to do. So that's probably my biggest thing, whether you're going with kids, whether you're going as an adult trip. I have another group going this weekend of 5 adults. So I'm super jealous of them going to Epcot. But, and if it's, if you're a foodie, start looking at the menus, look and see what you want to have.
That's our favorite part to do.
I know the food is the best part. And it's actually so funny to me when I send, families, to Disney, and maybe, the parents are just like going along with it because they're parents, they want to take their kids, or kids want to go to Disney, and they get home and they're like, okay, we fell in love with Disney. We want to go back. I'm like, yes. +1 for the Disney adults. So it is so fun to watch that happen.
Yes, absolutely. I will say I got in a phase and it's like, okay, well, I can have this, food. I just said Casey's Corner, so corn dogs.
Yes,
I do not like corn dogs in outside world. And when I go to Disney and I go to Magic Kingdom and I see Casey's Corner, that's all I want. But any other time, I'm like, nope.
I know. I'm with you. I know. Disney food is just, it's its own category. So it's so fun.
The magic.
It is.
Yes. So now my real final question. But what piece of advice would you give to another military spouse?
Oh man, probably the biggest, and I wish someone had told me in the beginning, it's okay to be you and be a military spouse. I think, especially when I kind of jumped into the military world, like it is okay to find who you are within the military community. That's so important. Don't just feel like you have to jump in and latch on to whatever you see Susie Q or Billy Joe, like whatever they're doing. Like you can still be you and be an important part of the military community. And just finding where you fit in while also being yourself, I think it's so important.
I love that. That is so amazing and so true. And where can listeners connect with you and learn so much more about travel?
Yes, they find me on mainly Instagram and Facebook, but you can find me at Pinks and Greens Travel, or my website is pinksandgreenstravel.com. Yeah, and I love, even if you're just thinking about a vacation or you're like, how in the world am I going to get my children on an airplane with all these car seats? Like, talk to me. It's my favorite thing to talk about. I'm like, I will talk to you all day long. It is absolutely my favorite thing.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for coming on the podcast and sharing.
Thank you so much. I was so happy to be here.
Thank you for listening to Grace of a Military Child and Life podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a like, follow, and comment. Also, be sure to check out Instagram and Facebook at Grace of a Military Child and Life for more awesome content. For information on the podcast, Military Child Bigs and Littles, GoAMCL blog, or other resources, visit www.goamcl.org. You can also email me at Gracie, that's GRACIE @GOAMCL.org with any questions or comments. To be a guest on the podcast, you can schedule it at www.goamcl.org/schedule a podcast, all one word, or contact me via social media or email. Stay tuned for the next episode where another incredible story is shared.